We're gabbing with Greenwood. Greenwood Gab.
Welcome back to another episode of Greenwood Gab. I'm Natalie Browning.
And I'm Sarah Reynolds.
And we're back with another Southside Reads themed episode.
Yay!
So today we're interviewing the professor, JoEllen Pederson, who gave us the idea for Southside Reads here at Longwood.
Yes, you might remember back to that first Southside Reads episode that we did. We talked about the professor. Well, she is here.
Yes. We weren't sure at the time if she wanted to be named, but when we told her about the podcast, she was very excited to be a guest. So her name is JoEllen, and we have her today with us.
Dr. Pederson, too, in the classroom, right?
Yes.
That's what Brent said.
Yes. So without further ado, here's our interview. We're joined by the professor who had the idea for Southside Reads. We have JoEllen Pederson here with us, and we're going to have her introduce herself, give us her job title, how long she's been at Longwood, and a fun fact about herself.
Awesome. So I am a associate professor of sociology here at Longwood University, and I've been doing that for 9 years. Mm-hmm. This is my 10th year, so big anniversary, I guess. And for my fun fact, is this like a subtle brag?
Sure.
I
Okay.
know Brent did his fun fact was like that he climbed Mount Fuji. That's not even a subtle brag.
Yeah. All right. Well, this one isn't either, maybe, but maybe it's also not Mount Fuji. In 2019, my blackberry jelly won a blue ribbon at the Virginia State Fair.
Woo.
That's the only time I've ever entered the state fair. Came home with a blue.
Very good.
Yeah.
You're allowed to brag about that.
Okay. I had to go all the way back to 2019 to find something, but I'll take it.
Well, I'd say another fun fact maybe that you came up with this idea. So I guess we can start by you giving us the background.
Sure. And by you came up with this idea, what you mean is you stole this idea from one of your dear friends. So my friend Sarah Dixon is a librarian at the Wichita Public Library in Wichita, Kansas. And she started me on a program called Read ICT. And ICT is the Wichita Airport Code. And I've been doing that with her since, I think, 2015, 2016. And they have their own categories. It's just like Southside Reads. Every month you have a category. You have to find a book that fits, quote unquote, that category. So I did it with her. And they have like a printout PDF and you can write in the books. And so I used to tape it up in my office and I'd write in my books as I read. And they don't do it month by month like we do. They just have like 12 categories and then you have all year to read those 12 categories. But you can do it in whatever order. And in Read ICT, like some people in February are like, I've completed the reading challenge. And they do different things around it. So they don't have the book club every month like we do because they're not all reading the same theme. But they do get together and do book swaps and talk about books that they've read and things like that. But I obviously couldn't do that because I lived in Virginia. Anyways, I would post it on my Facebook once a year and I would post like what I read the previous year and then the 12 new categories. And some folks that I went to grad school with in Florida did it. They also know Sarah Dixon. She also went to grad school at Florida State. And random people at Longwood would ask me about it. And so that's where the idea came from. It's not an original idea in any way, shape, or form. I did tell Sarah before I contacted Greenwood Library, I was just like, can I steal this? And she was like, yeah, we stole it. So, that's how good ideas spread, I guess.
There you go.
No stealing, only borrowing.
Yes.
Borrowing and adapting.
Yes, and now we're giving them credit, so.
Of course. Even when we've presented at conferences about Southside Reads, we've always given credit to the Read ICT program.
Oh,
since
awesome.
That is where at least our part of it began.
Yeah, awesome. Yay.
So one of the first questions I thought of is, have you had a favorite category or theme? Has there been a month that you were just really excited to read for?
So I will say, when I was doing the Read ICT challenge in Kansas, like they'd always have like an author that visited Kansas last year or like a Kansas author. And that was kind of fun because I read all these like Kansas-based books and I'm from Virginia. So that was good. But when it comes to Southside Reads, I think I want to talk about two categories that I've loved this year. The first one is award winners. And I used the Greenwood Library website and I found The Night Watchman by Louise Eldridge.
I think it's Erdrich.
Yes, thank you.
See, we always mispronounce names on this podcast.
Okay.
It's fine.
Well, I was like, the librarians don't know either. I don't. Thank God.
Sarah knew.
Yes. So it is a Pulitzer Prize winner, and it is about Indigenous peoples and written by an Indigenous person. And it was a book that I probably wouldn't have picked up, honestly, had I not had that category. And I loved it. I really enjoyed reading it, and I've told other people to read it. So that was a good one. And then the next category was heroes versus villains. And the ladies sitting in the room with me know that I tried to turn every category into murder mystery, specifically cozy murder mysteries. And in the heroes versus villains, I picked up the Louise Penny Inspector Gamache series, and I haven't put it down since. So I think I'm on book 14 of that series, and I picked it up because of that heroes versus villains theme. So I really, really fell in love with that one. I'm late to that game, I realize, but yeah, anyways, I found it.
I mean, she's still writing the series,
Yes,
right? So
she is.
you're not so late that like the last book came out 10 years ago. Like there's still new books coming out every year.
I know. Very exciting. I'm like, by the time she puts out a new one, I may be caught up. We'll see.
So you mentioned you're an associate professor. Yes. I imagine you are very busy. Do you still participate in both challenges?
Oh, I don't.
Okay.
I'm Southside Reads all the way.
It's the beauty of getting us to adapt it.
That's
here.
right. That's right. Yeah, that's a good question. I have not been doing the Wichita challenge.
Do they have any like overlapping themes where like you could potentially?
Yes,
maybe?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, but I don't even fill out, like they have an online thing that you can fill out. I don't even do it anymore because I'm Southside Reads loyal.
There you go. Do you have
Can I talk about why I love this way to do book clubs?
Sure.
So I love doing book clubs like this because I've done book clubs in the past where everybody reads the same book. And I know that people really like that. And listen, that's wonderful. But what I found was people kept choosing books that had like a social justice bend to them. And that's fantastic too, but it's also my job, right? Mm-hmm. Like I read those books for work. And as a professor, I analyze people's writings for work. And so when we were all reading the same book and we were all analyzing the same book, and a lot of the times the themes overlapped with what I do for a living, like I didn't feel those books are important, obviously, but I didn't feel like it was fun reading. I felt like it was work. And so what I love about this challenge is I can pick books that don't overlap so much with what I do in my everyday life for work. And actually, when I started thinking about bringing this challenge here, I was talking to Emily Kane, who also works on campus, and it was on January 1st of 2020. And we were just talking about like, not necessarily resolutions, but things that we wanted to work on in the year, things that we wanted to focus on. She was like, I want to read more for fun. And I was like, well, I've got the challenge for you, right? And so we started talking about like doing our own challenge in Farmville. And instead of doing like Kansas authors, doing like Virginia authors or doing things that were relevant to Farmville more than relevant to Wichita. And so we started that, and then that's when I emailed you all about making it bigger and better than Emily and I could ever do on just the two of us. But anyways, like we both read a lot for work, but we wanted to make sure that we were reading fun stuff too. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love about this challenge. And like whatever the theme is, I can make it fit something fun that I want to read. But I'm still exploring, like The Night Watchman, and I read The Groundskeeper. That was my July read, which was an author debut. Like, I would have never read that had it not been for this challenge. I get to have a fun read in a book club. And because nobody else read my book, if my analysis isn't perfect, nobody cares, right? You know, like there's no pressure to be like, to really dive in depth, which I appreciate. Yeah, I just appreciate the freedom and also like not having to add something to a conversation, not having to like, I know that sounds dumb, but I have to do that every day, all day long. And so at book club, when I'm like, well, here's what I took away from this, and it may not have been what the author intended, it makes me very happy, right? Like, I can just rest easy on that. And sometimes I just say, I didn't really like this book, but I'm going to talk about the place that I bought it at, which I love, right? Like, so there's a lot of different ways to participate, which I appreciate.
And it definitely opens like your horizons when you hear what other people are reading. Like, oh, I want to read that one. So it just gives you more options.
Yes.
Although, like, we're all going to die under our to-be-read piles of books.
Yeah.
But so you mentioned you like mysteries. So this month's theme is thrilling reads. So what are you reading this month?
Okay, so this month I read 3 books that fit the category.
Wow. Overachiever.
I know. Now, one of them is a Louise Penny book, so I'm not going to talk about that. But I do want to talk about, I read Daisy Darker by Alice Finney. Is that?
Sure.
Yep. So Daisy Darker, and I didn't know anything about it, but it takes place on October 30th and 31st.
Nope.
I know. And you learn that pretty early. And it is such a fun murder mystery. Like, I was not expecting it. And there's some twists and turns that I also was not expecting. And it's just like a perfect read for Halloween. Like, it is a perfect Halloween read. Spoiler alert, lots of people die. Still very fun. So I read that one. And then the next book I picked up was Wrong Place, Wrong Time by, I did not write her name down right, but maybe Jillian McAllister or something close to that. I'm really good with names, if you guys can't tell. Anyways, it also takes place on Halloween. Yeah. Which I did not know when I picked it up. And I was like, how perfect is this? So both of those books have elements that I typically don't look for in a book. Wrong Place, Wrong Time has time travel in it, which I'm like, that's a little fantasy, too much fantasy for me, or like too much sci-fi-ish kind of stuff. But I enjoyed both of them, and both of them were just really light reads. Daisy Darker was more fun than Place, Wrong Time, but both of them were kind of fun. So I enjoyed both of them, and they were both in October. So kind of perfect. Yeah. I don't always hit it right like that, but this month I did.
Do you often read more than one book per theme? Or just because you like this one?
I like this theme. It depends. It depends on what's going on. So Wrong Place, Wrong Time, I actually listened to through the Greenwood Library, and I've done a lot of driving this month. So that one just kind of hung out with me while I was driving. Yeah, it just depends.
Is there anything else you want to share with us about Southside Reads?
Oh, well, yes.
And things in general?
Do you all know the podcast I Said No Gifts by Bridger Weiniger?
I've heard of it because I listen to My Favorite Murder, where they give updates on all of their podcasts, but I haven't listened to it.
Okay. All right. Well, so anyways, it's a podcast called I Said No Gifts. And so everybody brings a gift. Like, all the guests on the podcast bring a gift to Bridger. And so today I brought you all a gift.
Aww.
And I'll describe it because so I brought librarians a bookmark. And so that seems not smart, right? They probably have 50,000. But what it is it looks like a little sprouting plant. And when you put it in the book, it looks like this little plant is growing out of the book. And the reason I picked this was because I had a seed of an idea when it came to Southside Reads. And then you all have really turned it into something, which I super appreciate. So anyways, here's your more bookmarks for librarians. You can give them away. I won't know, but I wanted to bring you a little gift.
That's awesome.
For all the work that you all have done for Southside Reads.
So they can sprout out of the page or out of the spine. Like, you can. That's very cute.
Multifunctional book.
I know.
I just thought they were adorable.
They are adorable.
And they're like,
I love the metaphor.
3 different colors. So, do you want a brand new, sort of slightly yellowish green, or do you want kind of a thriving, deeper green? Make your decision.
Yeah. And there's several in there. So if you're reading several books at a time.
Which I often do.
Of course. Yes. I assume so much. Yeah.
Well, like you said, I'm usually doing an audiobook, like an ebook, and then sometimes also a print book. So it depends on what's going on.
Yep, for sure. And I love that Southside Reads, like, we've got a really active Facebook page. So if you don't want to come and talk about your book at all, you don't have to. And really for today, to do my homework for today, I just went back through the Facebook page because I did not remember all the books that I read. And one of them, I was like, wow, I don't even remember reading that. Like,
What's that one about?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you much about that book. So don't ask me, but I remember the cover of it. It was just a cozy mystery. So anyways, not very memorable, but that's what Reading for Fun is about. We also have the meetings once a month, which I can't always make it to, but I really enjoy them when I do go. And you all do a great job of like hosting those at different places in the community. So sometimes we get ice cream, sometimes we get beer, sometimes we get coffee.
Yeah, well, none of it would be possible without your seed of an idea that you stole.
Yes, my stolen seed.
Or that you borrowed. I'm the one that said we didn't steal.
Okay, right.
We borrowed.
Right.
We borrowed and adapted.
Yeah, but that's all I did. You all have done all the other work. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you. And thank you for being on the podcast today and
Yes.
for bringing a gift. That's awesome. All of the rest of our guests now have something to live up to. Yeah.
Thank you so much, JoEllen, for joining us and telling us a little bit about the books that you've read for this month. And I guess it's now our turn to talk about what books that we've read. So why don't you start, Natalie?
So the book I'm reading this month, or I'm listening to, it's an audiobook from the public library. It's called The Jigsaw Man by Nadine Matheson. Since the theme this month is thrilling reads, this book is about a serial killer. So we've got that going for us. The Jigsaw Man refers to an actual jigsaw, like the power tool, because the serial killer cuts up his victims into pieces and dumps them around the city for the police to find.
Yay.
So the main character here is a police detective, and it turns out the jigsaw killer is a man named Peter Olivier, and he's been caught and he's in prison, but now there's a copycat killer. So they have to go talk to Peter Olivier and see who he thinks might be the copycat. And it definitely has like Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter vibes, where we have to go talk to this prisoner to catch the new killer. But it turns out it's all connected. So he actually does find out who the copycat is before the police do. And it's a whole thing. And it's very long. It's a very long book, but the chapters are very short. And like most of them end on like cliffhangers to get you to keep reading. So I don't want to give too many spoilers, but that's the gist of it. It's this kind of serial killer police detective mystery. And I did note that on Goodreads, this says, like, the name of the detective is Angelica Henley, and Goodreads says that this is the Inspector Angelica Henley series #1. So there is there already is a sequel.
Oh,
The Binding Room, published this year. So The Jigsaw Man was published in 2020. Looks like there's already a sequel. So I didn't realize until just now that I was getting into a series, but we'll see. Maybe I'll have time to read the second one too. Not this month, but
yeah.
but later.
Yeah, I do enjoy mystery series because you find a detective that you like and an author who has a style you like, and then there might be 20 books out there that you can read. JoEllen was saying with the Inspector Gamache series, you know, you can really dive headfirst into some of these series and just have a lot of stuff to read for a while.
Yeah, like I said, we're all going to die under our to be read piles. Like, there's no way we're going to read all the books we want to read. But it's nice to dream and make lists.
There you go. Yes, making lists of all the books that I will read maybe one day. I don't have an Excel spreadsheet that does that or anything.
Is that like the asking for a friend?
Yeah.
If I had a friend who made a spreadsheet of all the books that she wanted to read. But what are you reading for this?
So I haven't finished my book yet, but I picked a graphic novel by Jeff Lemire is the author, and then Gabriel Hernandez Walta is the illustrator, and it's called Sentient. It's described as a horror space opera, so thriller horror for October, but it's about a ship that has left Earth because Earth is becoming increasingly uninhabitable because humans. And they have started a space colony, and they're trying to send people slowly off of Earth to the space colony to get the colony set up so that by the time Earth finally does collapse, they have a place for everyone to go. And there is a crew of scientists and engineers and all those kinds of people you would need for a colony, and their children, because, you know, they're moving to this colony for the rest of their lives. So they take their families with them. As they're about to approach this radiation belt that makes communication impossible with both Earth and the colony that they're going to for about a year, a member of the crew is actually part of a terrorist organization that does not want the Earth government to have anything to do with the new space colony, because basically the Earth government is who allowed Earth to become uninhabitable. So why would we want those same people in charge when we're starting something new? So there are these terrorists / activists, whatever side of that you want to fall on, who are trying to prevent the Earth from being involved in this new space colony. So she kills all the members on board. But the mother of one of the children, she sees that the crew member who has basically trapped all the other crew members in a room with the smoke that's killing them. She sees her going towards the children's area where all the children are in like school, and she's concerned about what she might do to the children. So she basically convinces the ship's AI system that kind of oversees everything to kill the terrorist woman. And so then there are no adults on board, and the oldest child is 13 years old, and they're about to go through a radiation field for the next year where they have no communication with either Earth or the space colony. So you just have a year of children and an AI on a ship. But the story actually starts with the oldest child saying, "This is the story of our mother." And you see this image of the girl's biological mother floating through space, like blood on her face. So you're like, okay, what is this going to be about? But at the end of the first chapter, you learn that it's actually a story about Valerie, the AI that runs the ship, who becomes a mother to these children who have been left behind. So that's like basically what happens in the first chapter. So it's a lot, but no spoilers. There's more to it.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so it's got obviously, you know, murdering of every adult on the ship in the first chapter. That's a thrilling read, right?
We should have just called this theme for this month just murder instead of thrilling reads. But maybe our other members of our Southside Reads Facebook group and the members that come in person will have different interpretations. Just because all of us read about murder, maybe other people did not.
Yeah, you can have thrills that are unrelated to murder.
Yeah. I mean, why would you want that, though? I'd much rather read about murder.
Speaking of thrilling reads, we were at a conference this month and had some free showtime at the conference hotel. And we got involved in not a read, but a thrilling documentary.
Mm-hmm. Murder in the Bayou.
Yes, which to this day, there's these 8 women who were murdered in southern Louisiana, and they still don't know exactly what happened to them, if it was all the same people, if it was different people, and just happened they were all murdered in this short period of time. It's a good month. October is a good month for murder and thrills and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, or like how JoEllen mentioned, all of the books she read happened like either around or on Halloween.
Right.
So mine did not. I think it says when everything's happening, but I don't remember. I would have remembered if it were happening on Halloween. But yeah, definitely a good time for the scary things.
Yeah. Yeah, mine's not taking place on Halloween, but I don't know if they still celebrate Halloween
in the future on the spaceship.
It's like I can't remember. They tell you the year. It's like 21 something. So say about 100 years into the future, when we're all too worried about how uninhabitable Earth is becoming to go trick-or-treating anymore.
We can't live on the planet, let alone eat candy.
Yeah. I think that's another successful episode of Greenwood Gab about Southside Reads.
Yeah. Greenwood Gab times Southside Reads.
We should brand these episodes.
Yes. But thank you for listening and have a great.
Have a great